Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very excited to present our new PMS offering, White Oak Digital Leaders Portfolio. The strategy will invest in the technology and innovation and digital leaders of tomorrow, capitalizing on a structural multi-decadal shift that is underway in India as well as all over the world. Over the next 20 minutes, we'll spend some time on three key aspects. Starting with the product overview, we'll then talk a bit about why now is the right time to look at the strategy. Then in the second section, we'll talk a bit about the philosophy process and the portfolio outline. And then in the third section, we'll talk about White Oak's right to win in this offering. Starting with a quick product overview. The objective of the strategy is to invest in companies that are emerging as digital leaders in the digital era by being at the forefront of innovation and technology across industries and sectors. At least 80% or more of the portfolio will be in such companies. These are companies that are taking the lead in tech adoption and making it the fulcrum of their competitive advantage and differentiation. They're also gaining market share in the process and further cementing their position by doing this. These companies will come from across different industries. Now, for example, in the tech services segment, these would be companies investing in new technologies like AI, cloud, machine learning. From the consumer internet segment, these were companies that are driving world-class customer experience and delight. There are companies that are enabling Digital India and developing products for the digital ecosystem. And then finally, these would also include companies from the traditional industries that are pushing the envelope as far as R&D investments and expertise is concerned. We'll also discuss some of these aspects in greater detail as we go ahead. But first, the big question is, why now? Why does it make sense to look at the strategy right now? We call it the Great Digital Reset, something that is underway in India as well as globally. Over the last 2 years, the pandemic has only accelerated digital adoption across sectors by several years. The role of technology has undergone a complete metamorphosis. In fact, look at the graph on the left-hand side. This is a study done by McKinsey, where they essentially asked global CEOs, global executives, what is it that you use technology for? And look at how the answer has changed over the last 4 years. In 2017, only 4 or 5 years ago, about half of the respondents said that technology was being used for cost advantages, for driving process improvements, building efficiencies. Today, technology is all about building competitive advantage. And regardless of which industry you come from, right, and some of the companies are doing this better than the others, the laggards are bound to be left behind as this transition happens. And therefore, you will see on the right-hand side that it is no surprise that innovation-leaning businesses globally have done better than the average company. And this trend has only become stronger since the pandemic. In fact, digital leaders have led shareholder wealth creation across sectors, right from an Amazon compared to a Walmart in retail, or a Netflix compared to a Walt Disney in media, or a PayPal compared to a Wells Fargo in the banking segment. And therefore, it is crucial to take a historical perspective and understand how things have changed over a period of time. On the left-hand side, you can see how the mix of value has steadily shifted from physical assets to digital assets. 50 years ago, the primary source of value resided in hard physical assets, be it plant, land, machinery, oil and gas fields, railroads. And then this was followed by the emergence of brands like P&G, Unilever, PepsiCo. And then over the last 30 years, finally, we've seen the emergence of new tech companies that have gone ahead and gained market share. In this process, if you were to really step back and think about who are the large companies 30 years ago, in the likes of Chevron, ExxonMobil, General Electric, IBM, And today, they are nowhere to be seen. Today, the most valuable companies in the world are Google, Microsoft, Apple, Tesla, Netflix, and the likes. In fact, if you take a closer look at how the, the weightage of technology and internet sector has evolved for China and the US, on the left-hand side, you would see that about a decade ago, back in 2010, these technology and internet companies only constituted about 3% of the overall market in China, which has gone to 30%. Tenfold jump over the last decade and a half. India today seems to be at the same stage where China was. Today, internet and technology-enabled companies account for 2 to 3% of the market. And we believe that we are at the cusp of the inflection point in the Indian market, and these companies would become a much bigger part of the index going ahead. Now, moving to the second section, I want to spend some time talking about the philosophy process and a broad outline of the portfolio. White Oak's overarching investment philosophy is to invest in companies that are great businesses and are available at attractive valuations. So the three key attributes that we look for in a great business are superior returns on capital, scalable, and strong execution and governance. And we invest in these companies as long as they present a substantial discount to intrinsic value based on a proprietary cash flow-centric framework. As we look at the companies that make it to the Digital Leaders PMS portfolio, the superior returns on incremental capital, this key attribute is in turn a function of the sustainable competitive advantage that the company has, amongst other things. And companies that make it to this portfolio, for them, technology, innovation, and digital leadership would be the cornerstone of their structural competitive advantage. That's how the stocks would get selected into the portfolio. At a very broad level, we can put these stocks in three buckets. The first set of stocks are the ones that are building technology and facilitating innovation for India and the world. The second set of companies are what we would call the new age disruptive businesses. And the third set of companies are incumbents who are emerging as technology leaders by digital adoption and R&D investments. So a very important point is that this portfolio is not just about new age companies. It spans a much wider spectrum and straddles across these three buckets. In the next few slides, we'll spend some time talking through some of the examples in each of these three buckets. Starting with companies that are building technology and facilitating innovation for India and the world. A portfolio company is a mid-sized Indian tech services company, which is leader in digital engineering and specializes in services like cloud data warehousing, digital integration, essentially enabling businesses in healthcare, life sciences, and high tech all over the world undergo their digital transformation journey. Another company in the portfolio is a niche banking software company that is enabling digital transformation of banks. Their core banking, cash, liquidity management, it is considered a world leader in the core products that it has, essentially enabling cloud native application development and helping banks take that leap from legacy to a more modern digital core. In the second bucket, which is around new age disruptive business models, the portfolio will have companies across online classified platforms, both that are vertical category leaders as well as horizontal B2B companies. It will also have e-commerce businesses, both that are niche category leaders as well as business to business marketplaces, and several companies from the consumer internet basket. Currently, these would be about 20% of the portfolio. We expect the share of these businesses to significantly expand as the texture of public market changes over the next decade. In fact, this portfolio of companies is very different from what you would see in a typical private investment portfolio. There is only one loss-making business in all of the new age disruptive business models that we have invested in. And the third bucket would comprise of incumbents that are emerging as tech leaders by digital adoption. A good example here is the leading private sector banks that has invested way ahead of its peers in transforming its front end, becoming digital ready, and thereby driving superior competitive positioning in the market and gaining market share. On the other hand, there are also examples of banks that have not made it to the portfolio purely because they have lacked on the digital transformation. Another example from the incumbents that are emerging as digital leaders is that of the India subsidiary of a very innovative global industrial giant. Most of us on the call would have used their products. They have a track record of innovation leadership across decades, thousands of products across industries ranging from healthcare, auto consumer, and others. I hope this has provided you a good color on what would be the kind of businesses that would end up making into this portfolio. Now moving on to the third section, which is what is White Oak's right to win in this product offering? So as we embark building this new exciting offering, the right to win is centered on two key differentiators that are unique to us and combined together provide the right footing to pick the innovators and the technology and digital leaders of tomorrow. Number one is the global investing experience that White Oak Group has. There are several members on the team across business lines, across geographies that have global investing experience. They have evaluated and invested in businesses across developed markets as well as emerging markets from Korea to Mexico, Russia to South Africa. And just like in the game of chess, where advanced pattern recognition becomes a very crucial factor to win, similarly in investing, having seen these businesses in different countries which are themselves at various stages of their economic evolution provides us a unique pattern recognition perspective to investing in these companies, especially if these are new sunrise sectors, emerging sectors where none of our peers would have had a chance to look at them. Another aspect of our global investing experience is soon we'll be launching an emerging markets product and team, which would encompass leaders from China, Taiwan, Korea, who have looked at technology companies evolve across these geographies. And while they'll be part of a separate business, it would allow a lot of cross-learning and pollination within the team. The second key pillar of our right to win is a deep institutional understanding of the late-stage private technology landscape. While in our PMS business, we cannot invest in private companies because of regulatory reasons, neither in India or abroad, but through our other vehicles where we have this flexibility, we have been active investors in several cutting-edge private technology companies, apart from being active investors in late-stage pre-IPO investments. What this does is it provides us a very good ringside view of companies that are still not public, but are driving cutting-edge innovation. And let me give you a few examples. On the late-stage private and global technology companies, we're invested in a leading CPaaS company based in the Bay Area. This company has a 70% market share in WhatsApp business communication. Company is expected to list on NASDAQ soon. In fact, when WhatsApp first started their offering, they were the exclusive partners for technology integration for almost a year before the platform was open to other competitors. Another example is that of a leading technology company in identity verification. It is listed at the Stockholm Stock Exchange in Sweden, but this company has an 80% market share in India. And I'm sure that many of you on the call would have used their product. The company is Truecaller. On the pre-IPO investment side, we are pre-IPO investors in a dominant Indian insurance tech company, which subsequently got listed. We're also pre-IPO investors in a leading travel technology company that has 45% market share in their chosen segment, expected to go public soon. And there are several other examples. The key message here is that because of the group's investments across the life cycle across late stage private as well as pre-IPO. We have a very good ringside of how companies are evolving. And therefore, when these companies come to the public markets, we are far more better positioned to take a differentiated view of investing in these companies compared to anybody else in the peer group. With this, I've come to an end of the presentation. Just to summarize, the Digital Leaders PMS would capitalize on tech, innovation, and digital leadership, investing in companies of tomorrow. This is not just a satellite portfolio, but a core multi-decadal theme. And very happy to hear from you if you have any queries, either directly or through our distribution partners. Thank you very much for listening in. Stay tuned. We have a very interesting panel discussion coming up.